In the following video, we're going to be examining the standard form of a linear function. The standard form is represented by the equation ax plus by equals c. The general rules for getting equations in standard form is to get x and y on the same side. A, b, and c cannot be fractions, and the other rule that we're going to put in is a cannot be negative. The leading term must be a positive number. So when we look at the first example, y equals negative 2x plus 3, we know it's not in standard form. We need to get the x and y on the same side. So if I decide which one am I going to move, I'm going to move the x term to the left side because that puts both the terms on the same side, and by moving them, I'm actually going to be adding. So we do 2x plus y equals 3, and that is the standard form of the equation. And now let's look at the other example, one that's a little more difficult. It involves fractions. So we have 1/4 x plus 1/3 y equals 2. We learned a trick when we were solving equations that if we have fractions, we can actually eliminate the fractions by multiplying both sides of the equation by our common denominator. And so the common denominator of 4 and 3 is 12. So I can multiply the right side of the equation by 12 and multiply the left side of the equation by 12. Now when I multiply the right side, it's easy. 2 times 12 is 24. When I multiply the left side, distribute the 12. 12 times 1 is 12. Divided by 4 is 3. So we get 3x for our first. And then 12 times 1 is 12. Divided by 3 is 4. So 3x plus 4y equals 24. Now let's try a couple other examples. Again, we notice we start to see more fractions, so we can start to apply some of our shortcut techniques, some of our tricks to this. 2y equals negative 1/3 x plus 2. There's two ways going about this. You can eliminate the fraction right away, or you can move the x term right away. I'm going to eliminate the fraction. That way I get used to the whole idea of if I see a fraction with an equation, I can get rid of it by multiplying the entire equation by the common denominator. And since there's only one term down here, 3, that is my common denominator. So I'm going to multiply the left and the right side both by 3. And what that allows me to do is that allows me to actually distribute and cancel out my denominator. So 3 times 2y is 6y. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. And then divided by 3 is negative 1. So I have a negative 1x. And then 3 times 2 is 6. Still not in standard form because my x and y are not on the same side. I see my x is negative on the right side, so to move it to the left side would make it positive because I'd be adding. So add 1x. You get x plus 6y equals 6. And that is the standard form of the equation. So we applied our common denominator multiplying by it to eliminate the fractions technique twice so far. And we see we can do it right away as long as we distribute to all of the terms. And we can do the same thing here as well. 1/2 x minus 1/3 y equals 4. Your common denominator of 2 and 3 is 6. So I can multiply the left side and the right side by 6. Multiplying the right side by 6 is easy. 4 times 6 is 24. Now you do 6 times 1, which is 6, divided by 2 is 3. 6 times 1 is 6, divided by 3 is 2. So I get 3x minus 2y equals 24. So the trick when you are solving into standard form, manipulating equations in standard form, is to make sure you're not dealing with fractions. If you are, you can multiply by the common denominator right away. Just distribute to all the terms. And then make sure your x and y are on the same side. As when you make sure your x is on the same side as the y, we need to make sure our x is positive. So that is how to solve equations into standard form.